am busy, mercenary. Go do what you're getting paid for.
Sybil, can I talk to you?
Yes?
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
What do you want to know?
Mr. Vulcan, what brings you here?
I've got a few questions I'd like to ask about this village.
I imagine there are few who are better placed than myself to answer them.
How come it's you that's running the show here?
What a question. Because, my friend, someone has to. You imagine I'm doing this for my amusement, perhaps? Doubtless you wish it was someone else. The Chief of the Watch has trouble organizing 3 peasants. Our dear apothecary is evidently keen to give succor to any and every poor soul who wanders into the healing house. And regardless of your reputation, the people of this village would never trust outsiders such as yourself, or even the Red Scribes. So yes, it is indeed I who command here. The one-time steward of the hunting lodge of Valvanor, now leader of this shithole.
Well, hell. Glad we got that cleared up. What can you tell me about the people of Valvanor?
Before the war, there were just a few families here. Hunters and craftsmen, mostly. These days, they survive as best they can, husbanding their animals and digging up the puny vegetables they've managed to grow. Few dare to venture outside the walls. These woods are fruitful, but more perilous than ever before, and most of these folk know nothing of arms.
But you've got your guards.
They hardly qualify as an armed militia. Of the few that remain, most are sturdy farmers whom we have entrusted with some kind of weapon. Most of the real fighters left the village as soon as war broke out. The others died while out on patrol. The only one left here with any real experience is Mason, the head of the guard. Sadly, the man is a walking beer keg, who could not give a dog's fart for what his men are about.
Who are all those refugees that you're keeping outside the walls?
The war with the Ice Lords has driven many from their homes and villages. Alas, it would seem that some of them found their way here. I have tried to accommodate as many as we can, and provide as much comfort as possible, but I fear we can do little more. We are reaching the end of our reserves, and relations between the refugees and the villagers are becoming strained.
The refugees can't all be dead weight. Some of them have got to be useful.
Oh, if only. Believe me, I would be the first to welcome them. These peasants have been fleeing from town to town and from camp to camp for months. The best and strongest of them perished in battles, somewhere along the way. I must deal with the leftovers. I put the biggest of them in the watch, but they are of little use.
The healing house. It's a pretty good thing for your village, huh?
If you say so. As time has gone by, the healing house has drawn refugees to the swamps in ever greater numbers, and dissuaded some malingerers from returning to their families. When it opened its doors a year ago, the sense of relief was palpable. It was run by a couple, an elf doctor and his apothecary wife, who clearly were no strangers to the healing arts. Thanks to them, we were spared many plagues. But as the war dragged on, the endless tide of refugees continued to flow through our gates until we could harbor no more. 6 months ago, our worst nightmares were fulfilled. Our elf doctor fell ill and died. Since then, Mirana has soldiered on without rest, alone. I do not know how much longer she can keep going. The refugees just keep on coming. And I fear that poor woman is beginning to crumble under the strain. It's not surprising.
I need a blacksmith. Do you have one here?
With none more qualified, I asked Asiel to take over the village forge. I suppose I should warn you, he's quite a tricky character. He has a huge ego and is stubborn as an ox. Before the war, he was a sort of artist. He crafted jewelry and sculptures from metal. Despite running the forge, one could hardly call him a blacksmith. But he's the only one here who had even the vaguest notion of how to repair a shovel or straighten a blade.
The captain wants me to help your village. You got a job I can do?
With our shortages of food and fighting men, our worn-out equipment and the growing lines at the healing house, I cannot deny our village is sorely in need of help. Sadly, I fear that these are not the sort of problems you are used to dealing with, unless I'm much mistaken.
Maybe I'll surprise you. I need the reports about this beast that attacked the villagers.
I fear I am unable to be of help. I'm still not entirely convinced that it even exists. All I know is that several villagers have vanished. One villager is at present in the doctor's care, following a supposed encounter with the said beast. These swamps are crawling with dangers. There is nothing to suggest anything out of the ordinary. The refugees are always inventing horror stories in an attempt to force us to open our gates and let them inside.
It might be worth checking it out. You said you lost one of your patrols, right?
That is so. You should speak with Randval. He was most anxious to go out and hunt the beast down, but we needed him here. Now that we have more able bodies to guard our gates, I imagine he would be keen to pick up the scent once more.
Your guards... how can I put this? At first, I thought they were disobeying orders. Now I think maybe they don't even understand them. If you're stupid and incompetent, you should be digging turnips, not taking care of security.
You're beginning to worry me. Is it really that bad?
Are you kidding me? The state of their weapons is enough to make you cry. Maybe they'd be good for splitting logs.
Personally, I'm not capable of judging the aptitude of our sentries, but their poor results speak for themselves. Doubtless, you should share your observations with Mason, the chief of the watch. I should warn you, however, that he is of a somewhat stubborn nature.
Wouldn't be the first I've seen. So what's the problem with the healing house?
Quite simply, Mirana cannot keep up. She spends every waking minute giving out supplies to the refugees and refuses to admit that she cannot help everyone. She thinks she's fooling me. I have heard rumors that her food stock is running low. Unsurprisingly, the crowds outside are becoming restless. I believe they wish to continue handing out our food reserves as though they were unlimited. This is not the case, and thus, it is not an option.
So, you want someone to put her down?
Why, I never suggested any such thing. I just wish she would see reason, for all our sakes. But I have asked nothing of you. I was merely answering your question.
I've got a few questions I'd like to ask about this village. We'll talk again later.
Order of the Freeborn Blades is of great repute, and the mercenary does honor to its name. The mercenary's powers are both astonishing and fascinating. The knight would like to duel with the mercenary, that he may judge the mercenary's strength.
Sure, I can never turn down a good fight. But maybe we should take it outside if we don't want to break everything in here.
The knight is honored, and bows to his adversary's wisdom.
Wait for me here, Sybil. I won't be long.
The knight hopes that his adversary will not hold back his blows.
Oh, you can count on it.
The Order of the Freeborn Blades is of great repute, and the mercenary does honor to its name. The mercenary's powers are both astonishing and fascinating. The knight would like to duel with the mercenary, that he may judge the mercenary's strength.
It's not really the right moment, but if you want, we can talk about it later.
Mr. Vulcan, what brings you here?
The captain wants me to help your village. You got a job I can do?
With our shortages of food and fighting men, our worn-out equipment, and sadly, I fear that...
Maybe I'll surprise you. So what's the...
Quite simply, she thinks she's full. I believe they wish to...
So, you want someone to put her down?
Why, I never suggest... But I have asked nothing.
Your guards... If you're stupid and incompetent...
You're beginning to worry me.
Are you kidding me? The state of their weapon...
Personally, I'm not capable. Doubtless, you should share your observations.
Wouldn't be the first I've seen. I need the reports about this beat.
I fear I am unable to be of help. All I know is that several of these swamps are crawling with dangers. The refugees are always inventing.
It might be worth checking it out.
That is so. You should speak now that we have more able.
I've got a few questions I'd like to ask about this village.
I imagine there are few who are better placed than myself to answer them.
How come it's...
The chief of... And regard... So yes,
Well, hell. What can you tell me?
before the war, these days, these woods,
But you've got...
they hardly... Most of them, sadly,
Who are all those refugees?
the war with the ice, I have tried to... We are reaching.
The refugees...
Oh, if... these peasants are the best and...
The healing house.
If you say... When it opened... Thanks, but 6 months... Refuge...
I need a blacksmith. Do you have one here?
With none more qualified, I asked Asiel to take over the village forge. I suppose I should warn you, he's quite a tricky character. He has a huge ego and is stubborn as an ox. Before the war, he was a sort of artist. He crafted jewelry and sculptures from metal. Despite running the forge, one could hardly call him a blacksmith. But he's the only one here who had even the vaguest notion of how to repair a shovel or straighten a blade.
We'll talk again later.
Do I have to spill it out, or should I just put my boot in your arse? Clear off!
Would you just shut your stupid mouth for 2 seconds, please? The steward sent me here to help you.
Oh, that's all I need. Don't he think I got enough on my plate? Now he sends me some ore blade from God's know where. Hey, as long as it ain't Leah's paying for you, hey? You want to help? Knock yourself out. I warn you, there's plenty to do.
Get to the point before I set your breath on fire.
All right, take it easy. No need to get nasty, eh? You want to help? Yes or no?
Keep talking.
Well, for a start, you can try and find one of my patrols that's gone missing. At first, I thought maybe one of those half-wits was sleeping it off under a tree somewhere. But it's been a while now. Maybe something bad happened to him in the swamp.
I guess I could go back and check.
What a coincidence. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. After that, well, I suppose a pro like you, I guess you would be useful helping out the sentries. It won't be luxury. I don't know if you've seen what we're supposed to fight with, but, wow, if you can have a word with your quartermaster to see what he can do for my lads, you have my blessing.
The benediction of a drunk. Better and better.
It's what all us fucking mercenaries dream of. All right, I'll see what I can do.
Right, we may be living in the arsehole of Virtue, but being armed like a bunch of tramps, we can do without. And while you're at it, when you've been to the forge, you'll probably feel like letting off steam a bit. Why don't you go and take it out on my lads?
What do you mean?
Kick their arses so they can't sit down and get drunk instead of patrolling. And show them a couple of tricks while you're at it. A bit of training. Couldn't do no harm.
Your men can't afford to keep their thumbs in their asses. It's time to teach them how to use those weapons.
Knock yourself out, Pettyblade. I'll go and shake them awake. Perfect. I couldn't have done better. I reckon the lesson is gonna leave a few marks this time. Have you got time to go again, while they're still warmed up?
Why not? Let's go.
even so, they are making progress. If you whack them enough times, they remember how to defend themselves. Are you up for giving them one last lesson?
Maybe later on. If I'm not careful, I might break a few bones.
Haven't you anything better to do than bother me?
Hang on a sec. The steward himself sent me here to give you a hand.
Wonderful. I've been after him for months to get me some help, and he sends me an armed ape. You practice medicine, I presume? Your tools seem rather barbaric.
For someone with so much to do, you sure do talk a lot. So let's get this figured out, because I've got some shit to do too. Either you need help and you want me to handle it, or you don't, and you deal with it yourself.
Well then, I suppose I have nothing to lose. In fact, there is something that you could doubtless do for me. I'm worried about my assistant Haman. I haven't seen him for a while now, and I fear he might have gone into the swamps to look for the plants I need. We're forced to venture further and further in to find the plants we need. With all that's been going on lately, I forbade him from going back out alone, but the boy is nothing if not stubborn.
Stubborn? Yeah, I hate people like that.
Please find him. He's a good boy. He's done nothing but help others since he arrived. Without him, the House of Healing would be a house of death.
If I'm gonna be slogging through the swamps anyway, might as well take a look around and try to bring back the plants you need too, right? You got any drawings or descriptions?
Yes, that's a good idea. I would be grateful to you. But above all, try to bring back my assistant Haman in one piece. He is your priority. For the rest, basically, I need food, medicinal herbs, and of course, I wouldn't say no to a few pre-prepared potions. All of our stock seems to disappear so quickly. I'll give you the parchment that I made for Haman to help you recognize the specimens I need. He knows them by heart now, after so many trips.
Right. Plants, potions, chow, and one assistant. If I come across any elven tea, would you like a cup of that too?
That would be lovely.
I'll take my leave. See you later.